everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Esports Podcast. I am your host, William, and sadly today I am just your host, and I don't have any guests. Brock had to work really late today, so he's not able to be here, and Brian's out with his girlfriend for Valentine's Day. So it's just me. But we will still get through it. I just realized that was all messed up. But yeah, we will still get through this. It'll be a little bit of a quicker podcast because we won't sadly have any discussion or arguments. But what can you do? So we'll get right in. Last week's games, Brian did win. He is now officially ahead of me. I still am having issues on that second day of EU. I can never find them. I don't watch it live. I watch Fridays live, but I don't watch them live. I wonder if I go back and watch the VODs, I'll be able to find them. If I just actually watch them instead of trying to skip through. But either way, we'll get it updated. But as of right now, for us three personally, Brian is currently in the lead at 27 and 13. I'm at 26 and 14, and Brock is 24 and 16. All doing pretty solid, honestly. EU is one of our better regions, actually, for picks. Not like me in the LCK, I'm at 14 and 16, but I'm starting out strong this week. I'm actually technically at 18 and 16. So that's pretty good. And even LMS, I'm starting out strong too this week. So let's get right into the EU games, though. The first one we have, I'll just read my notes, so if I'm looking over here, I'm sorry. First one we had was SO4 and Misfits. I was really looking forward to this game. I know I had SO4, but deep down I still am rooting for Misfits because I did pick them in my preseason power rankings that they were going to be the best team in EU. Clearly wrong here. SO4, they drafted Jay, Sejuani, Akali, Ezreal, and Blitzcrank, and this was the last week of Akali that we'll see in pro play for a while. And then Misfits had Silas, Lee Sin, Lissandra, Varus, and Tomcatch. I was already very excited to see a Blitzcrank and Silas in the first game because completely changing up the meta. Was not too excited about the Silas after the fact because it went against Jace, and that was not a smart pick in my opinion since Silas steals ults and Jace doesn't really have a real ult. His ult just switches his hammer form to gun form, and that is what really hurt them. Blitzcrank, by the way, just amazing. Ignar's Blitzcrank is godlike. He just absolutely carried this game pretty much. First 10 minutes, SO4 was a little too aggressive against that Lissandra, and they did a really bad tower dive. But, however, they recovered at 14-minute mark with Mementos stealing a dragon. They completely collapsed on Misfits and got 4 kills, and that just got the ball rolling. And that game ended in 26 minutes. Pretty much from that dragon fight onward, SO4 just dominated the whole game. Ignar got his blitz pulls were on point the entire game. It was just awesome to see. And SO4 looked really good against Misfits. It was a really nice win for them. Next was SK versus Splice. We all picked SK. Everyone else picked Splice. We all had faith. I need to stop having faith in SK. They lost to Splice. The Splice is not as bad as I think, apparently. I thought Splice originally was going to win the draft because they had so much long distance engage with the Nocturne, LeBlanc, Pike, and that was enough. That's so much, go in with Pike dashing in with Nocturne ult and LeBlanc dashing in as well with the W. Like that Lucian is able to get into that middle line. Like he wants to be in midline. He never really midline to front line. Lucian doesn't ever want to be really backline, but he was able to get in there. Like the midline change where they're all deep inside of inside of SK's line, but Lucian is able to get right up close to them and do a lot of damage without being targeted, which is very, very important. So I was able to see that right away, and that's actually kind of what happened. Because that Cassiopeia was just going to got popped immediately in every fight, which was nice to have a Cassiopeia, but it's not nice when she gets popped right away in every fight. First blood was already Pike catching out Pike was just catching someone out right away. I don't remember who I wrote down. I believe it was the support, though. I believe it was Thresh that they caught out. Yes. There was a terrible early chase trying to get to Pike, and even it was just ugly, ugly, ugly. You're not supposed to chase Pike. It's just like Singed. He can go invisible. He has a dash. He can stun you and just throw you over and get you closer to his teammates. It's not any regens health when he's out of vision. So if he gets out of vision for a little bit, he's fully healing, nearly fully healing, pretty much. So he's just a very bad person that you don't want to chase. Kind of like Singed, a little easier to chase than Singed, but still the same concept. and I'm disappointed in seeing SK do that. Norskaren had a clean pike the whole first 15 minutes, and he was just really making plays all around the map to get Splice up to a 2.5k lead before 15 minutes, which is very strong for Splice, by the way. This is Splice we're talking about, not any other average team. Splice doesn't like the end games for 45 some minutes. This is exactly uncharacteristic of Splice to do, and it worked out very well for them. They did slow down. The Splice came back to reality for like nothing happened until about 25 minutes. So SK I think was doing very good by trying to get the Cassiopeia to outscale. But finally Splice was able to get an extra pick with the pike towards the very end of the game. It was a 45-minute game. I saw a meme on Reddit that I loved was Splice pick an early game comp with Lucian and Pike and all that, and take a really big early game lead. For some reason, stall the game out for 30 minutes, win end game anyway because you're Splice and you always win late game. Like, I don't know what happened to Splice. Like, I had so much. There's a lot of building blocks here where I still don't fully believe in them, but they are much better than like the below average teams currently. And oh hey True Frost, but they're much better than the below average teams, but they're not good in the sense of Vitality and G2 and SO4 style, where they don't have a complete game here. Like, they always try to go late game, which could help with the new patch, with the new ADC updates. That could actually bring them up a bit, but we'll have to see. Kobe's been phenomenal. Splice is. I can't hate on them too much. They're exceeding my expectations right now. I still just am reserved and have questions about them. Next, we had Origin versus Rogue. Not too much talk here. Origin was just a better team. I feel like we talk about this every week with Rogue. They're simply outmatched every single game. And at 23 minutes, especially, Rogue gave away a free Baron for nothing. It was only 23 minutes in. You know that they can go to Baron, but you know that you can also stop them before they go to Baron because, like, it's not. It's easy for a team that all 5 members of the team are missing. Oh, let's check Baron. They didn't do anything. They just let Baron go. It was the weirdest thing I've seen. Just like they keep making these mental mistakes over and over on Rogue, and it's just a shame because I liked their team originally start the year, but I'm really starting to hate it. And they're not fun to watch, and they're just pushovers to be frank. They just get crushed in every game now. I really think that I talked about this. I believe it was 2 weeks ago where Vitality beat Rogue. Yeah, no, last week. It was last week. Vitality beat Rogue. I think that really crushed them mentally, where they could have beat Vitality, should have beat Vitality, but I just think they got crushed mentally, and I don't think they're recovering for the rest of the year. I can honestly even see an 0-18 from them because I don't think there's. The only team I think they can probably beat is SK. I think SK is a pretty weak team, and maybe Excel. Like, those are the 2 teams that you have a chance against. The rest of them, I don't even see Rogue having a chance. And frankly, I don't see him having a big chance against SK or Excel. But those are, I would say, at best, Rogue's going 2-16 this year. Very disappointing opening season for them. Next game we had was Fnatic versus Excel. We all bought on that Excel hype train, and Fnatic showed us that we should not have done that. There was pretty much. Fnatic owned that whole game. It was just all around. They won every single lane. I didn't like the Sylas pick into Urgot. I don't like it that much because Urgot has the shotgun knees, and when Sylas goes in on you, he can steal the Urgot ult, which is a very game-changing ult. But the only issue with that is Sylas is able to pull off, to be able to pull off all this stuff. He needs to get in close range. Urgot is a range champion, so he can bully. It's range champion, very short range, pretty much melee. But he's still ranged. He still has a farther range than Sylas. But when Sylas goes in, Urgot's shotgun knees. If an Urgot can use it effectively and stun Sylas, so you can get enough shotgun knees, and those do percentage health damage. Those are large amounts of damage that Sylas can't really recover from. In my personal experience, I feel like Urgot's a decent counter to Sylas. And so I don't like the Sylas pick here. I didn't like the Sylas pick all week for Europe, actually. It didn't win a game, spoiler alert, all week. But it did win a game in NA with Licorice, but it didn't look good. It didn't look polished, personally, and I think it'll look much better this week as I've actually seen a lot more positive results watching the LMS and the LCK as well with Silas. Silas is really starting to show up a little bit better than what he was first week of play. He probably needs a few buffs, but he's decent. He's decent. He can really change the game depending on the ults on the enemy team. I think he's definitely a last pick type deal. And I think teams are taking him a little too early in the draft, where he can get countered out in draft. Finally, game 5 of last game of day 1 was G2 versus Vitality. Ugh, I hate Karthus. I thought Karthus. I even wrote here. I'll even read what I wrote. He made me eat crow so quickly in this game. In quotes, I am not a fan of the Karthus pick at all by G2. It's against an Olaf. That really becomes an issue for Karthus early, but I also feel like the nerf to jungle XP has really hurt the jungle Karthus. He won't be able to get as high as a level now as quickly, so he won't be able to get that third level in the ult and get to late games quickly. Also, I've never been a huge fan of J4 top, and against Rumble, if J4 ults him, Rumble can just ult inside his ult. That didn't matter. G2 destroyed Vitality this game. Absolutely destroyed them. And not only that, Jankos' Karthus is so mechanically gifted with his R pressing that no one else can press R like Jankos can. And it just like every time Vitality was making these awesome, like, I won't say awesome, but they were making some amazing escapes, and they'd get out, and I'm like, nope, you didn't get out. There's Karthus right above you. There's that ult coming down, and double kill for Jankos. I'm like, well, you guys looked really cool, but what did you get? Nothing. You actually just gave Karthus 600 gold. And the credit to G2, they played it amazingly, and Vitality still, I think, looks like one of the best top 2, top 3 teams in the league, and just the fact that they got crushed at G2 just shows how much better G2 is than Vitality. I would rank Vitality pretty much at the same level as Liquid and SO4 as well. Like, I think all 3 of those teams are very equal, and then I think G2 is a step above them. I think Liquid is a tiny bit better than Vitality and SO4, but that might just be personal bias. I try not to bring too much personal bias to it, but I think Liquid, basically, if I were to give like a power rankings for every team in the major regions, Liquid I have 8th, I have Vitality and like SO4 around like 11th and 12th, like around there. So they're very close to each other. I just have Liquid slightly higher. Because they haven't shown any losses yet, where Vitality has shown a loss, and same with SO4. Though they're also facing tougher competition with G2, where Liquid has no one, except maybe C9, maybe. Next we had SO4 versus Origin. I've just praised them a bunch, and then they dropped the ball in this game. This game was very disappointing for me personally. I've been praising SO4. I was saying they're better than Vitality, and I was saying they're a bunch of rookies, but their team play is incredible. They just got outbeat so early. I did say, I want to give myself credit here after making fun of myself for that G2 versus Vitality thing. I said I really like Origin's draft because SO4 is a huge team fighting team, so what do? You bring a bunch of amazing team fighters to counter it. They had Kennen, they had Sejuani, they had Yasuo, they had Kalista and Alistar. The Kalista-Alistar-Yasuo combo is very effective because Kalista can throw Alistar in. There's a knockup for Yasuo. Alistar also has a knockup by himself. There's an ultimate for Yasuo. You have Yasuo's Wind or Tornado. That's also an ultimate for Yasuo. Not only that, you have Sejuani and Kennen that you have to worry about your flanks constantly. Because if everyone gets knocked up by Alistar getting thrown in by Kalista, or just have flash in for Alistar as well, a flash W, but that can also knock people up. You're also, if you're focusing on there and getting damaged by Yasuo and stuff like that, Kennen's going to come in and flank and do his ult and do a ton of damage. And this worked out very well. Origin took a very early game lead, and they never stopped. They just kept winning the game very consistently. It was a very clean game by Origin, and this is what I've been waiting for from Origin. Even though I'm disappointed with SO4, I'm very excited for Origin to this, because I've seen these pieces in place. They've just had sloppy games and getting missteps and getting caught and ruining and just throwing leads, and like, this is what I see from the potential from this team, and it's nice to see it coming alive, and I'm really looking forward to that. I'm impressed and back on. I can't say I was ever off the bandwagon, but I was getting close to jumping off the hype train, I should say. And bandwagon, same thing. Next game was kind of a boring game. It was SK versus Rogue. Nothing, pretty boring. Nothing happened for about 11 minutes. And then SK started off strong, getting a kill on Woodid, but they overcommitted and they got to get the second tower and they gave Profit on Aatrox a double kill. But Ray's late game starts at the 30-minute mark. SK took a solid engage by with 3-man ult over the wall from Selfmade. Selfmade is a monster on SK. For as much as I hate on SK, I don't hate on Selfmade. I think Pyrian is doing okay this split. I think Brian and Brock are a little more hype on him than I am, but I still think he's okay. He's probably like a 5th or 6th best mid laner, so he's average, which is, I guess, okay for being on the bottom tier team. So you're above average. But Selfmade has been a fantastic jungler. He's really carried this team through their wins, even though they've only had 3 or 2 or 3, 3, but he's really carried them through their wins, and I'm looking forward to seeing his rematch against Fnatic this week. But he did win the game for them, and they won it in 33 minutes. Again, another quick game, though, for Rogue. Only 33 minutes in, and they lost to SK, who, like I said, I consider one of the worst teams in the league at the moment, and one of the very few teams that Rogue has a chance of beating. So by them not beating them, that's really bad. And losing in 33 minutes pretty quickly as well. It's not good. I'm very disappointed with Rogue. Next, we had Splice versus Misfits. Speaking of disappointment, I've been hating on Splice, but I gotta give them full credit here. They looked excellent in the early game again. I'm completely annoyed with Misfits. If they either feed early or win early, but they've been feeding early a lot more than winning early because people are realizing if they just got to focus on Hansama and ban out some Draven and Lucian and stuff like that, and then he's going to start looking pretty weak. He doesn't do well on the scaling. Misfits as a whole doesn't do well on scaling, apparently. They're very early game oriented, and if they don't win early game, they're feeding early game, and they're not coming back. And I'm very, very, very upset with I'm so upset with Misfits because I really want them to be good. I think they have so much talent. Even Febiven I like Hansama, I like Gorilla. I have all this talent on the team, and they're just failing. They're just completely failing. That's just Maxler. They're just all around sucking all the time, and it's getting me so annoyed. I want them to do good, but guess what? They're 4-4 now. They're sitting in 5th place in the they're tied of Origin for 5th and 6th place, so they're on the bottom of the playoffs. Like, they're in the playoffs but barely. And not only that, they got G2 next. Like, you haven't faced G2. That was the last game of the season, or last game of the split, half a split. First round robin is the word I'm looking for. And that's an automatic loss pretty much at this point. So now you're looking at 4-5. You're not even 500 anymore, and you have this super all-star lineup, and you're not 500 after the first half of the season. That's not good at all. That's very disappointing. Hopefully they can rebound, but after the last split as well, summer split comes in, where they started out really well and then they didn't even make it to Worlds or anything, and they've lost I believe it's 7 games in a row. I'm seeing flashbacks of that, and I'm not liking it. And I'm embarrassed because I picked them to win, and now they barely look like they can make the playoffs. And I said they're gonna win the whole thing. It's upsetting me because I thought they were gonna be so good. I really did, and they're not. They simply aren't. I need to see a lot of improvement. I need them to build in mid-game. They don't have a mid-game or late game, frankly. They just have early game, and if that doesn't work, well, they lost. That's it. I don't like it. It makes me frustrated watching them because I know I can guarantee the outcome of any Misfits game at the moment by 10 minutes. Really. They're either going to be 5-0 or 0-5 by 10 minutes every game, apparently. And it's just not working in their favor at the moment because teams have figured them out and they have refused to change as of right now. Hopefully this week they do. But as of right now, they haven't proved that they can. Game number 9, we had Vitality versus Excel. I think Excel's team fighting looks excellent in this game from their draft. I thought they had Urgot, Camille, Ryze, Kai'Sa, Fiddlesticks, and I thought that's very good. If you're going to go against Vitality, you need to have team fighting, or you need to match them in the team fight because they're going to take every team fight no matter what. So you need to be able to match it, and I think the Ryze, Camille, or the Camille and the Fiddle combo is very nice, and then have Kai'Sa scale. However, Excel was dominating Vitality every time they get a kill in the early game. They were capitalizing on each kill. I believe the announcers brought this up. Every time Excel got a kill on Vitality, they would take a tower, take a few plates, take a dragon, take a Rift Herald. Every time Vitality got a kill on Excel, they wouldn't get anything. And then Then Excel made a big mistake, and I think this is more of a rookie mistake by being a young team. 20 minutes in, Vitality just takes Baron completely under Excel's nose. They didn't stop him. They didn't stop him at all. They didn't expect it, and it was like all of everything that the first 20 minutes of the game, Excel is taking everything. They're marking all the checks on the list of what you do. Get a kill, take a plate. Get a kill, take a dragon. Get a kill, take rift. Get a kill, get another dragon. Every time they got a kill and they had map pressure, they did something with it. Except that 20 minutes, no one remembered the ward Baron, and they forgot they were playing against Vitality. Vitality's like, look, the Baron is uncontested right now. We're going to take it even though we're behind and it's only 20 minutes. It just spawned. We're going to take it anyway. And they did. And then immediately Vitality takes the Baron and they close out the game. They didn't close it off that Baron, but they were able to get enough to tie the game up again. They were in a better position at that point, slightly ahead, and they took another Baron, won a few team fights, and immediately won the game. It was like it was insane how quickly that game flipped on its head, and it was disappointing to see from Excel. And frankly, even though we've seen good things from Excel with holding probably the best team to face G2 at the moment, or the best showing against G2 out of any team, they played pretty well against Vitality in this game. They played pretty well against SO4. At the end of the day, all losses. You got to get some wins eventually. You're 2-6. Like, you're losing all these games. It's nice to show that you're competing, unlike Rogue, but at the same time, at the end of the day, a win's a win and a loss is a loss. And we're halfway. This week will be the halfway point of the season after the first day. And if you're sitting at 2-7, 2-6, 2-7, you're looking at already being nearly out of the playoffs by this point. So hopefully they can do that and like improve, but at the moment I don't see it. I've fallen off the wagon for Excel. I'm not a fan of their team anymore. Or I'm a fan of their team, but I'm not like thrilled when I see them like, oh, they're gonna be able to compete and win this game. All I know is, oh, they'll compete for the first 20 minutes and then they'll lose somehow. They need to bridge that last part. They're kind of like Misfits, but slightly better in the sense that Misfits better talent-wise, but Excel's better at holding their lead a little bit longer than Misfits has been. Final game was G2 versus Fnatic. Yikes. We 10 minutes into the game. These are my notes. I'll just give you my notes because this was such a bad game. Early game. We are just 10 minutes into the game, and G2 already has a 4K gold lead. 7K gold lead by 15 minutes. What is happening? Do I even need the recap on this? This is just pure slaughter. All around 10K gold lead by 16 minutes. What is this? At 20 minutes, wait, it's over. Okay, never mind then. That's game. 20-minute game. Barely. I usually do my early game is first 15 minutes. Kept it for 20 minutes this game because early game was like Nexus Towers. It was such a G2 just embarrassed Fnatic. It was just a blowout all over. Fnatic looked so bad after looking very well, I thought, previously against Excel. But I think Fnatic is excited for this patch coming up with crit ADCs coming back because this is their last shot. I think if they don't win this week, you can almost kiss playoffs goodbye. So this is like a do or die week for Fnatic at this point. But that is all the recap for the first games from. So I actually went pretty far for first games. Let's talk about players of the week. Our top laner of the week is Origins Alfari, because not only because his stats weren't the best necessarily, because of how bad of a year he's had so far. He's been one of the worst top laners out of all top laners in the LEC, frankly. And he had a nice 4.5 KDA. He did 28% of his team's damage, and he had a 4-1-2 game on Urgot versus Rogue. I know it's versus Rogue, but it's always nice to see a player as dominant as Alfari used to be able to actually come back and have a very solid week. A 2-0 week. He played really well on both on the Kennen and the Urgot, and it's just nice to see. He had a good KDA. He had good damage percentage. He was helping his team a lot, and hopefully he can bring that up into future weeks. I don't know why my week 6 stuff is all messed up. I'll fix that later. No big deal. Jungle, or the week, is G2 Jankos. I hate giving him this because it's on Karthus for the most part, but his KDA was perfect. Damage percentage was 24%. Damage per minute was 565. And I hate giving his best game, but he did pretty good game on that 4-0-13 against Vitality. He made Vitality cry that game. He also had an amazing Olaf game where he just destroyed Fnatic as well. But I think destroying Vitality is more important than destroying scoring fanatic, so I gave him that as a more of an impressive game. Mid-lane of the week, I'm okay with giving is G2 Caps. He had a KDA of 7, CS per minute of 9, damage percentage of 23%, and damage per minute of 566. His best game was 7-2-7 on Akali versus Vitality. He just popped off in that Vitality game. Him and with Django's with his R, he'd press R, Akali would jump in, and then because Lucian and everyone would be half health, I believe is Lucian who's facing, and then Akali can just easily half health in ADC in one tiny rotation. I don't even think she needs a full rotation. It's capped on Akali of all people. So that was probably the last good Akali game you're ever going to see, since she's been nerfed into the ground since then, and you're not going to see it in any pro play or it's trolling. If you see it in solo queue, it's probably still trolling because that's how bad she got nerfed. ADC of the week was Splice's Kobe. He had a solid 13 KDA, 10.2 CS per minute, 30% of his team's damage, and a solid 696 damage per minute. He had an excellent week, and he was one of the main reasons why Splice went 2-0 this week and moved up to fourth place in the LEC and are threatening to be a top team, actually. To be honest, I don't see it, but they are record-wise threatening to be a top team, and I can't take that away from them. Finally, something I thought I would never say is support was Origin's Mithy. It was support of the week. KD of 18, vision score per minute of 2.375. Best game was 2-0-8 on Alistair versus SO4. That was absolutely he was part of the reason why Origin was able to do so cleanly in that game against SO4. He was making all the plays, setting them all up with the Alistair, the two-man knockups and everything. He had just had an all-around excellent game, and it's glad to see him back because I know we've been hating on him, at least especially me, have been hating on him quite a lot this year and last year. If you were listening to our NA podcast, we really hated on Mithy a lot, and it's not something I like to do. I try to avoid hating on players because I know simply they're way better than me and they're way better than 99.99% of everyone playing, but he was just having such poor calls and he's playing bad. I'm sure he knows he was playing very bad, but so it's really good to see him get that around and hopefully build some confidence up. And then that's all for Players of the Game. We do not have a play of the week at the moment because it was last minute where I realized I was going to be doing this solo. So with all that, we'll go straight into the power rankings, which I have as G2 number 1, like always. I have Vitality. You can see Brock and Brian's over there. I just won't go over them because they're not here, so I don't know exactly why they put what where. But I have Vitality as number 2. They looked very bad against G2, but I think that's okay. I think G2 is just a step way above everyone else in the West at the moment. And I had to drop SO4 because they did lose. They did lose their game to Origin, and Origin was not a top team at the moment. I think they could be a potential top team, but they aren't at the moment. So losing to them is way worse than losing to G2, in my opinion. Vitality did look a little weak in their second game, and SO4 looked good in their first game. But at the end of the day, I think Vitality is slightly better than SO4 right now. But they're very equal. Like I said, I put them 11 and 12 in top worldwide power rankings. Maybe a little bit further back because of the losses, maybe 14, 15. Either way, they're identical teams. They're definitely going to be the two teams I personally think fighting for second and third this year in LEC throughout the whole split as they have currently. Move Splice up to number 4. They beat Misfits. They deserve it. They're number 4 in the ranks. I want to put Origin above them, but I simply can't because Splice, as much as I've been hating on them for being a slow meta, it's 9.3 now, and the meta is slowing down a little bit. So this actually might be for Kobe as well to be able to excel in this meta and bring Splice to be a threat for that third play. Maybe knock Vitality or SO4 out of there, and they're like, hey, we deserve this spot up near the top. Not necessarily G2, but fighting for that second, third place. That would help them immensely with Worlds points at the end of the year. Origin has moved up to number 5 because they did beat SO4. It's a big win, and I see a lot of talent on this team. And I think that this team could, if they mesh well and they get everything together and they stop all their early simple mistakes to fix. Not necessarily simple, but very fixable mistakes. They're not mechanical mistakes. They're mental mistakes, and I feel like mental mistakes are easier to fix than mechanical, and they have fixed them, or at least they fixed them this week, and I hope that it picks up and they show that they can be a strong team. I've dropped Misfits number 6 because, frankly, they have been playing terrible, and I think they are the worst of the teams in the playoffs at the moment. I really want them to come back so I can show everyone that I was smart at the preseason, but right now I just look like an idiot for putting them number 1. Until they prove that they can have any type of game that doesn't rely on having to get super far ahead early, they're going to be down there. I moved up Fnatic to number 7, which might be a little weird because of how badly they got killed the G2. But again, I don't count. It's like in NA when I don't count losses against Liquid as that bad. I also don't count losses against G2 as that bad. Frankly, G2 losses count even less than Liquid losses. So like, I don't think that's a big deal. Whatever, Fnatic, you lost to G2, no big deal. Everyone's lost to G2 so far, and only Misfits hasn't, and they're gonna lose to them this week. But Fnatic, this is their moment, I think, personally. I'm not a fan of Fnatic, by the way, so before anyone says, like, oh, you're just a fanboy of Fnatic and you believe, I hate Fnatic. I hate G2 and I hate Fnatic. I hate them both, just an NA thing. They're always the top EU teams. I don't like EU teams. They're much more fun to watch than NA right now, I will sadly admit. But, but I hate Fnatic. I hate it. I don't like Bwipo. I think I've made that known. I'm really annoyed by all of Fnatic last year at Worlds with the way they treated Cloud9 after semifinals and stuff like that. I hate EU fan base. I hate some of the EU fan base with the obnoxiousness of it. But there is frankly obnoxiousness on NA. I just don't see it as much. But either way, it's a fun rivalry, and that's what a rivalry is for, you know. So when I say that I think Fnatic can be a top 4 team in this meta, you know I'm not biased about it. I think I was looking up in pro builds. Reckless is popping off right now. He had so many. Let's see if I can pull this up right now. Reckless. Yeah, I'm going to pull this up. Let's listen to his games. He had a Zinzao game there. Don't want to talk about that. It's 2-7, but that was autofill probably. Listen, 3-4-9 on Lucian, that's not great. 11-0-8 on Kai'Sa, 9-5-9 on Kai'Sa, 4-6-2 on Lucian. So his Lucian's still not great, but he doesn't need to play Lucian. Here we go. Tristana, 12-2-7, 6-1-5. Sivir, 7-1-5. Sivir, 19-3-8. Lucian's still only 5-4-2, but then Tristana, 9-1-7. Kai'Sa, 5-3-5. Tristana 5-1-6. Anytime he's playing Tristana or like Kai'Sa still, he is popping off in these games. And I know they're solo queue. I get it. But this is the meta for him. This is his crit ADC meta. This is all he can play, which I think puts him as a weaker player personally because he doesn't have any flexibility. But when it's in this meta, he's dominant. And it's not like Fnatic has no talent on the team. Like, even though I don't like Bwipo at all, he's a decent top laner, and if he gets it together, he's not been decent this year, but he's shown that he can be decent. Broxa in the jungler, he's always been proven to be a great jungler. You got Nemesis really showing up, honestly, on Fnatic, and been probably the best player on Fnatic, I personally think, so far this split. Reckless, we just talked about with the crit ACs, and Hylissang, he's also been a very good support for them, constantly. Hylissang's been great. Now, so they have the talent, this is their meta, they got to be able to put this together this week because they are running out of time at 2-6. I know they're only 2 games out of the playoffs, but like 2-6, if they go 2-8, like you're not going to the playoffs at 2-8, or if you are, you're immediately getting eliminated. That's like a miracle to make it at that point. So I have them at number 7, and I have big hope for them this week in general. Then I have Excel number 8, SK number 9, and obviously Rogue number 10. Let's move on quickly to my picks then, right here. I picked game 1, as you can tell probably. I picked Fnatic. Oops, NFC is football. But I picked Fnatic to win game 1. Brock and Brian picked Splice. This is a tough one because Kobe also in Splice late game, and Kobe's been popping off as well on ADCs. I just want to see... I just feel like this is going to be Fnatic's week. They know it's make or break, and they've always won a lot. And I think that with Reckless on crit ADC, like just pick him Tristana. If they ban Tristana, pick him Sivir. If they're banning Tristana, Sivir, and Kai'Sa, you have a lot of other power picks right there. There's no way they're banning Tristana, Sivir, and Kai'Sa in the first round. If they are, then you can pick something else. I don't want to see Reckless on Lucian, though. His Lucian has not looked good all year. And frankly, hasn't looked good very much ever. But even Xayah, put him on Xayah or something. Sivir, Tristana, Caitlyn. There you go. He has plenty of ADCs now that he can play that are totally in the meta. Jhin. Like Jin's possibly in the meta. He played a game, I believe. He played 1 or 2 games that he showed up as well. And all these crazies are back in the meta. This is exactly what he plays, and I think this is going to be a wake-up call for the rest of the league, I'm thinking, and Fnatic will be able to sneak into the top 4. I even have them upsetting Misfits and Splice, like, at the end of the year, and I think one of those teams will not make the playoffs, which at the moment I'm thinking is Misfits, which is not good considering I picked them as my champion, and now I'm saying they might not even make playoffs by week 5. That's not good. Anyway, we'll move on. Next game, I have Origin over Excel. I talked earlier about how I think Origin is stepping up all the way, and I think Excel is a little bit like they show that they can compete, but they don't show that they can close. And it's simple as that. They can't close. They're going to be facing Origin. I think Origin is going to show them that they are a much better team than they were just a few weeks ago, and that I believe Origin beat Excel originally, though. I don't know off the top of my head on that one. But yeah, I don't see it anywhere. But and either way, I think Origin is on the right track. They're on the up and up, and I don't see that from Excel. Excel actually replace Exile, which is a win for casters because I'm saying Exile, just a mess. But I don't think Exile was the problem, which. Excuse me. I don't think it was a smart move at all, and I think they're actually going to struggle because of that. I think that was a really questionable decision by the organization, but they know more than me. But in my eyes, that was very questionable, and I didn't like the move at all. Next is Vitality versus SK. I also have Vitality. I think that one's fairly obvious. I think SK has shown that they're kind of a fraud outside of Self-Made. The rest of them are average to below average, and Self-Made is the only one carrying. You need more than one player to beat Vitality. Vitality is a very strong team, and they're going to run all over SK. SO4 versus Rogue, same exact thing, except Rogue has shown that they have below average players at every position right now. And SO4 is a fantastic team fighting team, and they'll stomp through Rogue like it's like nothing because. So I'm gonna eat my words when Rogue gets their first win here. But no, SO4 will dominate this game because of their excellent team fighting, and Rogue will have nothing to match against it. Next game is G2 versus Misfits. I've talked down Misfits this entire time, and I've talked up G2. So obviously G2, until they show me that they have any vulnerabilities, it's very similar to Liquid. They're just gonna go Liquid, Griffin, and G2 in their respective regions. I'm not gonna pick against them. It's just like picking against Alabama or the Patriots. Like, just not gonna do it. You're gonna have a much higher percentage if you just always pick them to win until they show that they lose. And at the moment, none of them have. None of them have even shown that they can lose to their respective region opponents. Fnatic versus SK. I've talked about SK being a fraud except for Self-Made. I just talked about how Fnatic's going to beat Splice. If I think they're going to beat Splice, I definitely think they're going to beat SK. I think Fnatic's going to have a 2-0 week and actually be right back in the hunt for the playoffs, and the fans can breathe a little bit of sigh of relief after this, even though as much as I want Fnatic to be last place, because like personally, like that would be the best. Splice versus Excel. I think Splice rebounds because, again, there's 3 teams I said are frauds today. SK, Excel, and Misfits. And even though I think Splice is performing better than they should at 5-3. I think they are better than Excel simply, and I think that they're going to come out strong, and Kobe's going to have a phenomenal game. Finally, the next game, we have Vitality versus SO4. This is one of the toughest games to pick this week. Like I said, I think these two teams are dead even, 50-50. And I want to almost change to be safe and pick what Brian had, but I can't because I feel like that'd be cheating because he gave me his picks and I saw them. I have to stick with what I originally picked with. What I originally stuck with was Vitality. This is going to be an absolute coin toss game. This is absolute match of the week in my opinion. And this is must see. Vitality's aggression all over the place versus SO4's calm, cool, and collected team fighting. Two exact opposite styles of play. I personally like calm, cool, collected team fighting better, but Vitality has shown that they can do this excellently, and I think that if they get ahead early, and the reason I picked them is because I think they'll be able to get ahead early enough that SO4's team fighting won't be able to come into play as quickly as they would like, and Vitality will be able to end the game before it really happens. Not to mention, Vitality is really good at team fighting as well. They'll take any team fight that you give them, and they win a lot of them. Next game, Misfits versus Rogue. Even though I've been down on Misfits, Rogue again, they're the opposite of G2. Until I see anything from them, even remotely useful, they're not going to be picked. Simple as that. And then finally, G2 versus Origin. Even though I've talked Origin up, talked about it again. G2, best team in the league, best team in the West, top near dare I say top 5. I think top 5, top 6 team in the world. They personally think they're top 3, but I do not think that. But I think they're top 5, top 6. I think there's Griffin's better. I think Sunning's better. I think IG's better. But that's semantics, so we're not going to be dealing with that. We got to wait till MSI for that, and there'll only be one team of each. So at MSI, there'll be a top 3 team in the world if this continues, because there'll only be one Korean team, one Chinese team. But for sure, be interesting to see G2. Anyway, though, G2 is going to beat Origin, even though Origins look great. They could give them a run for their money. This isn't going to be as easy as a win as it was last week. Or last time they faced each other. I don't think. But who knows with G2? They could probably blow them out. They'll give Jenko's Karthus, and he'll press R, and then he'll get a triple kill, and then he'll press R again, and he'll get another double kill, and press R again and get a double kill, because that's all they do. I hate Karthus. I hate watching Karthus. Anyway, though, that is our podcast. In only 41 minutes. I hope I spread it out. I hope to give good analysis here. I tried to make it a little more meaty since it's just me and no discussions. Thank you guys for watching. You can follow us on YouTube at youtube.com/KingLinkFan. We put these episodes up right after that. Follow us on Twitch if you want to watch this live. I'll hopefully see your messages. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But we get a few messages on Twitch when we're streaming, so we can check us out at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. That we do on Thursday we do LEC, Sunday we do LCK or LPL, Monday we do NA, Tuesday we do LCK, and Wednesday we do LMS. And finally, just follow us on Twitter at Support Esports. At Support Esports. We don't tweet too much, to be frankly honest. We will once eventually when we do this makeover, which I've been talking about, which we will do. My only worry is that once it's fully completed, it won't be ready until probably summer split. I'll try to do earlier, but there's a lot of work. I want to make it to bring. We're gonna use Paint. Just a little teaser at the end of this episode. We'll bring Paint into this, and you can see my fantastic Paint skills. This is embarrassing, by the way. What I want to do is have, when I do players of the game, I want pictures of the players there. And then have their stat, like all the players. And then have their stats, like their KDA here, and say he had a 7.0, and then I'd put, like, first out of top laners. Stuff like that. And then when we do our predictions and stuff, we'll have team logos and stuff like that. Make it look really professional, so it's not just a split. And to do that, we need all the players' pictures. We need all the team logos. We need to make them all the right size. We need good backgrounds. I need transitions. I need to set this all up in OBS so it's all invisible and stuff like that. A bunch of stuff like that. And it's a lot of work, and especially for Brock works full-time, Brian works full-time. I work over 50-some hours a week. Normally, that's how I watch the games. I just listen to the games while I'm at work and then while I'm doing my work, so I don't necessarily get to watch full detail, but that's why I take notes so I can remember exactly. And that's how I'm still able to watch all the games. But that's enough, and we can wrap this episode up. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you Sunday for LPL. That's our first LPL one from... No, we did one last week. No, first LPL in a while, though. I'm excited to see it. See you guys later.